A few things on the agenda that's important, so we appreciate your presence this evening. Councilman Box, if you would be so kind.
Glad. Everybody join me, please. Almighty Creator, Father, we come before you tonight. We thank you for this opportunity, Lord. Thank you that so many have gathered together to take an interest in the operation of this, your city. Lord, we thank you that you give us wisdom tonight. We thank you that you help us keep our passions checked by love, checked by grace, and checked by consideration of what the best things are for the city to do. We ask this all in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which is stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Box. Just a little bit of housekeeping this evening. Obviously, a large room. The doors are open so people can hear from the halls. We are streaming online, so it's just crucial for the people that are listening at home that we speak into our mics, and that if you come up to make a comment on anything or present anything, that mic over by the podium is hot. We would ask that you speak into that mic so that everyone can hear that is streaming from home. We've had some feedback on that recently, so thank you. And then also, if you do come up to speak on an item, there are some slips in the back that record your name and your address for the record. It would be optimal if that could be filled out and presented to Ms. Leanne Allison, our clerk, for the record. If those are exhausted, clearly stating your name or address for the record would be acceptable. Also, a little bit of housekeeping. Towards the end, we're going to have an executive session. So we will go through our meeting as normal. But before we adjourn, we will ask for a motion to enter into executive session where we will leave this room and go into another room. And I will explain what that's for when we get to that. But we will end our executive session in that other room, and we will end this meeting in that other room. So as far as business is concerned, once we move into executive session, y'all are free to leave. There will be no additional developments at that time. Fair enough? All right. That being said, roll call. Councilwoman Cuellar.
Here.
Councilman Box.
Present.
Councilman Sims.
Here.
And myself present. At this time, I would look for approval of minutes for our regular city council meeting of July 5th, 2022, and our special city council meeting on July 7th, 2022. If I could get those as separate motions.
Motion to approve the minutes from the city council meeting on July 5th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Sims. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve the minutes for the special city council meeting on July 7th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Sims. All in favor? Aye.
I abstain.
Understood. Thank you. And one abstention from Councilwoman Cuellar. Thank you. All right. At this time, we'd accept a motion for the payment of the bills.
Make a motion that we approve the current bills in the amount of $150,545.50.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. At this time, we will look for any professional or consultants to deliver a report this evening. Was this, I'm sorry? Councilwoman Cuellar, are we going to have Mr. Pugh?
Yes, we have
Please.
David Pugh from the CDA.
Thank you, ma'am. Please, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm on the mic now.
Yep, floor is yours, sir.
Just here to give a quick update of some of the things we're doing at the Commercial Development Authority. First of all, we've very recently renewed our contract with Retail Strategies. We renewed it for a second 3-year term, essentially the same terms as before with a few tweaks. We still enjoy a most favored nation status, which means so long as they're working for the city of Irondale, they will not enter into any contract for any municipality that shares a border with us. So we're getting their exclusive attention. We recently renewed our $1 million line of credit so that we're in a position to buy something if something becomes available. The activity that Retail Strategies is mostly consumed with right now has to do with trying to identify tenants, particularly if we can identify national retail tenants for the retail spaces becoming available at the public site and across the street at the Heights. I know there's as many as 13 units, including 2 large standalone units on the public site. I'm not sure how many are going to be available at the Heights. We're still under contract with McNally Land Design to work with the city in developing a more comprehensive set of building code ordinances. And very recently, we're looking quite seriously at buying a piece of property. It's a piece of property that Retail Strategies has had several calls about, generating some retail interest, particularly if a couple changes could be made. We may get it, we may not. If we get it, it's going to be at a substantial discount to the market. If we don't, we hope to be a market maker, much like we were with the Siesta Motel and what is now the Allstate office, used to be American Family Care office, and at least generate some activity. It's a piece of property that's been on the market for a while and has had very little activity. And that's a pretty good summary of what we've been doing. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the gentleman?
No, thank you.
I appreciate the report. Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
Absolutely. Any other professional or consultants that would like to deliver a report this evening? Fair enough. All right, Mayor, your time for your report. You have the floor, sir.
Good evening to everyone. I do have a report, but I do not want Ms. Mallory to have to stand through the whole deal. So I'm going to go ahead and read her proclamation. The reason that she's here tonight is because she made 36 on the ACT score. In 1980, I made 21 on the ACT score, but I think I turned out pretty well. But I just wanted to honor her, give her her flowers, let her know how proud we are that she accomplished something that very few people throughout the United States and the world have accomplished. So, Mallory, if you would come over, I'll read this proclamation to you. I'm only standing here, but we'll take a picture out front. And it says, whereas the ACT is a standardized test used for college admissions in the United States, whereas the ACT test covers 4 academic skill areas: English, mathematics, reading, scientific reasoning, and whereas the ACT is accepted for admissions considerations by all 4-year colleges and universities in the United States, as well as more than 225 additional universities worldwide. And whereas the 4 ACT test sections are individually scored on a scale from 1 to 36, and a composite score averaging the individual section scores is provided, and whereas fewer than 1/3 of a percentage point of students that take the ACT each year achieve a perfect composite score of 36. And whereas Mallory Witt, a student at Jefferson County International Baccalaureate School in the city of Irondale, obtained a perfect score of 36 on her ACT test in May of 2022. Now, therefore, be it hereby resolved that I, James Douglas Stewart Jr., Mayor of the City of Irondale, issue this proclamation of congratulations and honor Mallory Witt for her academic achievements and for making the City of Irondale proud. In witness whereof, I signed and sealed on the 19th day of July 2022.
Well, I didn't really have anything planned to say, but I think I wouldn't have really been able to have done it without determination that I see something that's fostered in my school with my teachers and my peers who I've never really gotten that anywhere else. I've had the privilege of receiving that, and I don't think that I would have the academic achievements that I do if I didn't have them, and if I didn't have the support that I do. And I hope that that's something that other kids can have, and then maybe that 1/3% would probably be much bigger if other kids had what I had, and I appreciate that a lot.
Okay, I'll go ahead and give my mayor's report very quickly. I hate to give this first statement since the room is packed, but I did want to let you know that the COVID positivity rate is now 29.5% in Jefferson County, and we may be contributing to that tonight. But I just want everybody to be safe, take precautions. If you hadn't been boosted, get boosted. If you hadn't got the shot, get the shot. Also, we had the mayor's monthly prayer meeting at Church of the Highlands on July the 7th. It was a very interesting meeting. We pretty much talked about that we're trying to recruit 168 people in the city of Irondale to pray for the city. We just asked for you to identify an hour. We don't want you to pray for an hour. We just want you to identify that hour that you can pray for pray for the city, because there's 168 hours in a week. And I'm a firm believer that a city that prays together stays together. Also on July the 7th, I had a group of elected officials to come out for a luncheon to be able to build relationships with them. We had county commissioners, House of Representatives, state senators, House of Representatives from the U.S. level, as well as from our senators. We want to be able to build relationships at every level of government, because you never know when you need them. Also, myself, Councilwoman Cuellar, and Councilman Sims attended the Economic Development Academy at Jeff State Shelby County campus on Thursday, July the 14th. We had movie night in the park, Space Jam, July the 15th. It was a very good crowd there, and we expect to have another good crowd on the 29th. Serve Day took place at Ruffiner Park on July the 16th. There was at least 130 individuals that was there from the Church of the Highlands that helped us to be able to paint dugouts, replace wood, paint rails, and also to be able to pressure wash the park. So I want to be able to thank them for including the city of Irondale in Serve Day. The same day, veterans were honored at Classic Car Motoring. It was a veterans honor flight that was put on by Jeff Baggett, and I want to thank him for inviting me to be a part of that event. On July the 17th, I had a chance to go to Mount Hebron Baptist Church, which is in the Bend. They was celebrating their 131st anniversary. So I had a chance to be able to worship with them. Also, I attended the opening and closing for the World Games. When Lionel Richie wasn't on the stage, I was actually asleep. But I did wake up in time to hear him sing those 3 songs. But it was a wonderful event. We're thankful to having the chance to be able to represent the city of Irondale at the World Games. On July the 19th, we're going to have Black Panther. It's going to be played in 29th in Beacon Park, Black Panther. It starts at 7. There's going to be an adult trivia game, and they're also going to start the movie around 8:15. This is for the adults. Please leave your children at home. If you send your children to the event unattended, I've already talked to Officer Merchant, and we're going to either make them get with their parents, or we're going to put them in detention until their parents come and pick them up. We are not a babysitting service for 3 hours. We want people to come and enjoy the movie. We do not want kids running around our feet during the whole movie time. I guess I just turned 58 last week. I'm getting old and I can't take things the way that I used to be able to take things. But this is an adult movie, and we will have police there to make sure that if you come to see the movie, that you sit down and watch the movie. Also on July the 30th, we're having the I Love Irondale Day, the second edition of it. And there's a lot of stuff that's going on, so I'm just going to read them quickly. They're going to be food trucks, free to the first 50 at each truck, DJ and line dancing by the tracks, lawn games for kids and adults, Irondale trivia, winning prizes, classic car, truck show, shop with young entrepreneurs, community picnic table project, registration for fall youth sports, meet your counselors, principals, department heads, and more. And we're also going to have a table or an area there for the park master plan. If you've been waiting to hear about the park master plan that we embarked on in the city, McNally is going to be there with a tent. They're going to be gathering information, doing surveys. So make sure that you go by that particular area. And we also have a treat for you tonight. So I'll have Leanne to come up in a few minutes to be able to present something that I feel that the city of Irondale will be very proud of. And to close out my remarks, if you have not registered for the celebration, the birthday celebration that we're getting ready to have here in the city of Irondale, there are 1,400 people that have currently registered for the event. We only have 1,500 spaces. If you haven't signed up for the event, make sure you go home tonight, IrondaleCommunityFoundation.com, and there's a tab for you to be able to do it. We have some very exciting artists. We have Taylor Hicks. We have Kim Scott, Eric Essex, and also PMJ, or Pastor Mike Sr., who's the pastor at Revelation. His son is going to be the closing act. He just won 6 Stellar Awards this weekend. I'm glad we signed him last year. So he won't come back and try to increase the price since he won all of those Stellars. This event is absolutely free. It does not cost you a dime. Can you think of a place where you can go and hear these type of musicians and you do not have to pay for it? There will be food trucks there. There may be libations that are there as well. So I'm just encouraging you that if you hadn't signed up for it, you need to make sure that you go home tonight and to do that. At this time, I'll call Miss Leanne McNally to the front, and she is going to give us a conceptual perspective of what our new state-of-the-art dog park is going to look like at Ellard Park.
All right. Hi. So actually, we have the plans for the Ellard Park Dog Park. What I'm here tonight to do is to tell you, we've been working on 2 things. We've been working on the dog park that will be kind of the first master plan for the dog park at Ellard Park, and then we've been working on the parks master plan. So we have a lot to show everybody, and we're going to be rolling that out in a couple of different ways to make sure that everybody has a chance to see and comment on things. And so we spent the past couple of months hiking around and evaluating and assessing all of the existing parks and green space with potential for recreation opportunities throughout the city. So we have maps of that. We have maps showing programming and potential programming for facilities and amenities and just recreation programming that you may want to see throughout the city. And we will be showing all of this information at the I Love Irondale Day. So tonight I'm here to make sure we invite everybody to the I Love Irondale Day. We will have boards that will be open. They're interactive boards for comment so that you can show us your preference for your wants and your needs and what you would like to see for your recreational amenities and parks and green space throughout the city. So we encourage you to come in person, place your dots on the board, write your comment cards. And also to see the plans for Ellard Park. We will have boards for the dog park up that show the different layout throughout the park and the different amenities and equipment that we're proposing. And we'll be receiving comments on that as well. And then we are also looking at this week, we will be rolling out kind of a social media and mass email campaign to make sure that you know that we will have all of the boards in person at the I Love Irondale Day. So look for the tent. We should have an I Love Parks banner or something up that you should be able to find us easily. But we will also, for those of you that can't make it to I Love Irondale Day, we have an online survey that will also have graphics of what we're looking at embedded in the survey. And so the survey, we encourage you to take the survey. We will be using all of this information that you provide us to help us determine priorities and what goes where and what gets kind of on that action item list for us to make our recommendations to the city for the master plan. So that is the update. Please be on the lookout for emails. Please come to I Love Irondale Day and give us your feedback, and we will have all the plans and graphics at that time. So any questions?
Leanne, because I was so excited what you shared with me last Tuesday, I want everybody to be able to see the same thing. So I apologize for the premature announcement, but Lee and I have seen what it looks like. And but make sure you come to I Love Irondale Day to be able to see it. So I apologize for the premature
And we're
announcement.
very excited to share it with y'all. So we hope that you can make it. If not, be on the lookout for emails. And then if we get the feedback that not enough people were able to see that, we'll coordinate with the mayor and staff to be able to get that information public so that you do have a chance to see it and comment as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Leanne. Council President, that ends my report.
Outstanding. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. As far as our department heads, at this time, we would take any reports from our department heads. Fair enough. At this time, we will move into council persons' reports. As far as District 2 and my report goes, I'll just give a confession. I've been gone for about 4 weeks straight this summer, so I do not really have anything to report other than that. My email box, I think, has 3 digits next to it, so I will be working diligently to get through that. So if you have emailed me a concern, I will be spending my time over the next few days attempting to get through that inbox and replying back to you. If you haven't gotten a reply from me, that is why. I never take this much time out, but it just worked out where this past month I've just been completely out of pocket. So I appreciate your patience if you've reached out to me and you have not received a reply. Councilman Sims.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Just going to have, I got the recycle numbers for June. We were at 38% contamination for June, so we're still hovering right around 40%. Oh, is this on? Thank you, everyone, for being here. I got the recycling numbers for June, I think yesterday morning or this morning. We're still at 38% contamination, which it's been hovering around that for months, I think. So I don't know what it is, but hopefully we will get that down and save some more money. That's all.
Okay. Councilman Box.
Thank you, Mayor.
I know you could pull.
No, I'll try not to use my Santa voice in the microphone as well. Once again, I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. 2 things. Mountain Lake Estates Mayor, the bridge deconstruction has started, so therefore the bridge reconstruction has started, and that's a good thing. Several community people there are excited about it. Also, I have been given the information that the mayor is in negotiations and are moving forward for the neighborhood out in Heritage Place on the purchase of the property there. Don't have a date for anything yet, but the mayor's working through that. The last thing I'd like to cover is I've been saying it for a year now. In my discretionary funds, I would like to return that to the neighborhoods. I have to have something brought before me that actually is a public purpose. So if you're in one of the neighborhoods in District 4, I think Mr. Townsend could tell you that we worked a project for his neighborhood. please bring me that public purpose. I'll pass it through legal to see what it meets, and we'll see if we can't help you out to get some things done there specifically in the neighborhoods in 4. And with that said, I'll move on to Councilwoman Cuellar.
All right. Councilwoman Cuellar, your report, please, ma'am.
Yes, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I'm piggybacking on the mayor's comments in regard to the 3 council members, as well as a member of the CDA board and Mayor Stewart that attended the Economic Development Academy, Training Academy. We learned quite a bit about the retail development process and how cities can impact outcomes. For instance, we had some gentlemen, one of them is John Abernathy, who's the president of Blackwater Resources, who spoke to us and gave us several pointers on how to go about this process. Then we had Brian Holt, who's the principal of South Pace Properties, who talked about the role of tenant representatives. Lots of good information. This was followed by a gentleman by the name of Greg Blaylock, who's the project director for economic development. And he provided us with some data and marketing tools for retail recruitment. Then we had Melody Witten, who's the vice president of 58 Inc., does a lot of work for Shelby County with economic development. Several municipalities, there are like 10 or 12 municipalities that they've been able to do some successful work for, from hotels to retail, and lots of great information, made a lot of good contacts. One of the questions that they asked us was, how has your community recruited retail? And then they came on with these experts that could help us in doing a better job of that. That was that. And then I also wanted to talk about the couple that we're so blessed with in Irondale to have running a business, and that's Classic Car Motoring. That's Jeff and Diane Baggett. What they did this past weekend was amazing for our veterans. Truly phenomenal. The veterans were not aware of what was about to happen. But I want to thank our police department, who worked with the Mountain Brook Police Department, Trussville, Leeds, and Aniata Police Departments in providing our veterans with the escort. I also want to thank Chief McDaniel with the Irondale Fire Department. You guys are awesome. You had that huge flag on the ladder of the fire truck along with the Leeds Fire Department. Very impressive. I spoke with many of the veterans, and they were very touched by everyone coming together to honor them and to thank them for their service to our country. Mr. Baggett is doing something else in September, on September the 10th, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Classic Car Motoring. He is joining with the Mid-Alabama Corvette Club, and they're doing an indoor Corvette event. And the proceeds from this event will benefit Magic Moments. If you aren't familiar with Magic Moments, they are the only wish-granting organization devoted exclusively to creating magic moments in the lives of children in Alabama with chronically ill, life-threatening medical conditions. A magic moment allows children and their families to forget, even if just for a little while, the fear and pain of their illness. So for those of you that like cars, I invite you to come out to September 10th. It's a great event. If you like Corvettes, they're going to have a bunch of them. I've heard it's going to be about 200 to 300 of them. So please come out and support this worthwhile cause and effort. And that's all I have to report. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Absolutely. At this time, we will look for any reports of boards or any other non-council committees this evening. Any reports of boards or non-council committees? Fair enough. All right, we will move into a public hearing here in a moment. The public hearing will concern pursuant to Section 18 of Ordinance 2007-47, the City Council of the City of Irondale will hear comments from interested parties concerning the appeal of Resolution 2022 R109 denying a short-term rental business license for the property located at 1901 4th Avenue South, Irondale, Alabama 35210. I need a motion to enter this public hearing.
Motion to enter in the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. That being said, we are in a public hearing. So what we are looking for is to hear concerns or for any of this or against any of this. So I would like to go ahead and start by calling Mr. Jared Jeffries up. If you would like to speak on this item, sir. I will be enforcing the 2-minute timer on this. So thank you.
Jared Jeffries, 1901 4th Avenue South. So, first, my wife and I don't have a history of violating rules or laws since we've lived here for 4 years. Sorry about that. Nor does my wife with her business. We understand that some out of sport may choose to come up against us not because of anything that we've done, but just because they don't like short-term rentals. But we are one of you. So, if you tear us down, you're simply tearing yourself down. If you encourage us and support us, you're investing in yourself. We had the property listed for 6 days, and I was in the community speaking with a resident, and she mentioned short-term rentals as well as what she thought were guidelines. But she couldn't tell me specifically. This was the first time that I had heard of guidelines. So I called City Hall. I asked about the requirements. She didn't know. To her knowledge, I only needed to come in and apply. The very next day, we were issued a notice that we had a week to obtain the business license. The officer was very professional, but he couldn't tell me much about the requirements. He also gave us an ordinance. This was the first time hearing about it or seeing it. I read through it, attempted to interpret it. I still didn't understand what we could do. The same day, I went to the attorney's office so he could provide clarity on what we could and couldn't do. He said to his knowledge, the ordinance was new, and he admitted he didn't know much about it. That was it. After this, I stopped by, grabbed the application, filled it out, and returned it that day. The same day, we received a notice from the officer. Speculation and assumptions aside, we only rented 9 days to 2 guests. I also think it's fair to note that at 3 trusted different levels of authority, none of them knew the ordinance well. And although there might have been a few who knew it well, we shouldn't be villainized for something that in essence was brand new and even some of our most trusted members of society didn't know. I will be living and occupying the property going forward. If our permit is granted, stays under 31 days will be owner occupied. This would also be reflected on the platform we choose as shared home or something to that effect. We talked with 6 of our neighbors and none of them were against it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Jeffries. Any other comments on the appeal or denial of this? I would like to go ahead and once again, let's go ahead and do the in favors for first. In favor first? Okay, sure. Just please, we need your name and your address for the record and be sure to please speak into the mic. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I will not be removing my mask because I think you should be able to hear me okay. But my name is Anita Taylor. I live at 5350 Dixieland Road, Irondale, Alabama, 35210. I've been a resident here in Irondale for 30 years. My husband and I, he is outside because of all the traffic. We just said he'd stay out there. But I'd like to speak on behalf of Jared Jeffries and Mia Jeffries. They are very dear friends of me and my husband. And when they moved to Irondale, they did mention to me that they wanted to not just be a part of Irondale, but they wanted to do something to help build Irondale. I told them that I was very dear friends with Mayor James Stewart, and I know he would welcome the opportunity and the idea of them doing something positive here in Irondale. I just want you to know that they are honest people. They are good-hearted people. My husband and I, we own a daycare here in Irondale. We do have business license through Irondale, and their children attend Irondale glorious kids here in Irondale. And they have beautiful children. They treat their children really good. And they wanted to bring something to Irondale. I think because they are young people, we should give the young people an opportunity and a chance to help us grow our city, the city of Irondale. So I'm speaking on their behalf as honest student, honest citizens of Irondale, and I want them to be given the opportunity to help build Irondale. And they did not know all the do's and the don'ts. And I now know that they have been advised of the ordinances and the things that they have to do, and they are willing to adhere to whatever is needed. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak in favor of the appeal? All right. Yes, ma'am. Is this what you're referring to? Okay, have y'all received this? We have received this in our packets, so if you would like to place it in an area that would be beneficial for everyone that's attending, that would probably be best.
That was so sweet what she just said about us. Sorry. There's so many people here.
Let's go ahead and go with your name and address so we can go ahead and get into your comments.
I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
Okay. My name is Mia Jeffries, 1901 4th Avenue South. This is a timeline of when the ordinance was enacted and all the events afterwards, when we listed our property, when we got notice from the city of what we were doing wrong, when our guests checked in, when they checked out. So our original business license was denied. The ordinance was less than 90 days old when we listed our property. It was approximately 84 days old. It was a brand new ordinance. Prior to that, no requirements were made for short-term rentals. This is our first home purchase. This is also our first endeavor into short-term rentals. So if you've ever tried anything for the first time, if you are perfect at it, good for you. But typically when you do something for the first time, you make mistakes, and we definitely made some mistakes. I have an established history of complying with the City of Irondale's business requirements with my current business. I have never incurred any penalties in prior years. The unavailability of information regarding the ordinance. My husband called City Hall asking for information. The police officer couldn't tell us much, nor the lawyer who we paid money to the very same day that we got served. We went to a lawyer to ask him if he could interpret it for us because we're not lawyers. Okay, we were not notified that our original business license application was going to be an agenda item that night. We just so happened to show up with our 2 kids, and then it was an agenda item, so we were not prepared to defend ourselves or to have any evidence for you. We were not prepared for the flurry of hate that residents had for us, that the city had for us. We were not prepared to defend ourselves, but today we are prepared to defend ourselves and hopefully win your approval, because we intend to follow all the guidelines set forth by whatever the city deems necessary. We have spoken to all of our neighbors, and despite everything, you know, it's nice to get to talk to your neighbors. We have gained rapport with them, more rapport than we probably would have gained with them had we not gone through this. So it's actually been a blessing in disguise. We've been talking to our new neighbors. You know, some of us see the same things, and some of us, we agree to disagree, because that's how we live in harmony. We don't all agree on the same things. We're never going to agree on the same things, but how do we all live in harmony? We agree to disagree.
Ms. Jeffries?
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Any other comments for this appeal? Any comments against this appeal?
Terry Johnson, 1504 Monticello Road, Irondale, Alabama. I'm a resident of Irondale for 20 years. Let me begin first by quoting a doctrine that appears first in Leviticus 5:17. If a person sins and does what is forbidden in any of the Lord's commands, even though he does not know it, he is guilty and will be held responsible. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. I'm quite certain that if I drove 65 miles an hour down Grants Mill Road, when Irondale's finest pulled me over, they would not hesitate to inform me of my negligence to due diligence with regard to the speed limit. At the 622 meeting, owner Jared Jeffries admitted that he failed to do the research needed to learn the ordinances and obtain proper permits prior to renting out the property as an Airbnb. At the same meeting, Police Chief Wiggins read a report that outlined not only their negligence to conduct due diligence prior to listing the property as an Airbnb in violation of the city's ordinance, but also detailed how the owner continued to rent the property as an Airbnb even after being served with a cease and desist. The report also stated that the address on the application was not 1901 4th Avenue South, rather 2304 3rd Avenue South. Ordinance 2022-02 states, short-term residential rental is defined as an owner-occupied residential rental where one or more rooms of a single-family home, the main use of which is residential living, is rented for less than 30 consecutive days. It does not intend renting the entire property while the owner is away for an extended time. Owner Mia Jeffries admitted at the June 22nd meeting that their intentions were initially to rent it out during the summer while they took their kids on vacation. And at the July 5th meeting, she stated again that she should be allowed to rent it on the weekend if I'm not there, which is a clear violation of the current ordinance.
Ms. Terry, thank you for your comments.
My name is Mary Beth Butts. I live at 1506 Monticello Road. This is in regards to the public hearing at hand. I want to just call out to the council. I want you guys to recall that on 6/22, you guys were given an investigation packet that took place by the Irondale Police Department. You read that packet. There was dishonesty and deception that was that happened on the side of the property owners. That was placed out in that giant packet that you guys were given. For that reason, it was shown that even though they did find out what the rules and regulations were, they were parking cars here to assume that somebody was living there while renters were there parking in the garage, hiding their cars. I just want you guys to take that into account when making your decision tonight, and also take into account the amount of time and manpower that it will take to monitor the property moving forward. We have an ordinance in place. We have to monitor it. You guys have already told us as residents that you already don't have the manpower to do that, and it's our responsibility to do so and to let you guys know. So I think it's important to think about that. I also know 3 neighbors off the top of my hand who are opposed to the property being a short-term rental. Also want to point out to the Jeffries, this is not a personal attack against you guys. The reason why this all started in the very beginning is because we all had gunshots fired at our homes, and we don't want that again. And it happened less than a block from your current property on 4th Avenue. So I think you need to think about that as well. It's not a personal attack against you. We want to be safe. I've lived here for 36 years, and now I have to come to council meetings every other Tuesday night because of this. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments against? No more comments against. Councilperson, any questions for the Jeffries or any of the other people that have spoken tonight? Councilwoman Cuellar.
I do have some questions. One of them is, when are you planning to move in?
We have a long-term renter in there now. A few weeks ago, we applied for our long-term rental license, and they'll be there to the end of August, so whenever they.
right, so when do you plan to move in?
When that lease is up.
When will the lease be over?
At the end of August.
The end of August. Okay, so, looking at the ordinance is pretty clear about the need for the owner to live on the premises. So, are you asking, looking at the ordinance, it's very clear in stating that the owner needs to live on the property. So are you asking to extend this appeal until you get moved in?
Yes, please. We just kind of felt a need to respond. Like we admitted, you know, we understood that we wasn't in compliance at first, but there was just so many accusations logged, and I feel like it was personal. Like my wife said, we didn't even get noticed. We just happened to come in here, and everybody's just like going at us. We've never been criminals or nothing like that, but you know, that's the thing. Like we can agree to disagree, but like
A lot of those things are speculation as well. The timeline clearly shows when we got served the first, and we sent y'all records of when our paid guests were there and when they checked out. And you can see on there when we got served, our guests checked out on the 6th. And I think we got served with cease and desist on the 7th. And we didn't have any other paid renters after the 6th. And he was the same guy that was in there was the same one that we got served with when we first got served. That was during his day. Our first guest was before we even got served. So when we got served, the same guest was in there when we got served the second time. And he was from Springfield, Massachusetts. So, I mean, yes, we knew for like 3 days, but we weren't going to kick him out and send him packing or whatever. Like, that is our only fault where we knew that we weren't supposed to have renters, but he had already checked in a couple days, like before we even got started the first time.
The original notice that we had a week
Thank
to get our business license. We applied that same day. Before the week was up, we got a cease and desist.
I hear what you're saying. My question was, are you asking us to extend your appeal? And you stated yes. Councilman Box? I'll defer to Councilman Box. Or Councilman Sims or Council President Spivey.
Well, just reiterating, what I'm hearing you say is you do not physically live at the residence in question at this time.
This is true.
And then you intend to move into that residence in August when your renter that is in there at this point in time has moved out.
That's right. Yes, sir.
So therefore, you're asking us to extend your appeal until you have actually moved in.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll defer to legal on that to get advice from her.
As the ordinance requires that they do occupy the premises, under the short-term rental ordinance, then I would recommend that the appeal be continued to the council meeting after they have moved in, because at that point, they would be there such that they would satisfy the requirements of the ordinance.
So rather than a vote tonight, we can just table this resolution.
You could continue it to a date certain when they know that they would be moved in.
Very good. Thank you. That's all I have.
Councilman Sims, any follow-up comments?
None.
Okay. I would echo what Councilman Box is saying. Once your lease, the lease that's in place right now is up, please notify us where we can pick this back up. Our first meeting would be September the 6th. I don't know if that will give you time to do so. That would just be the first meeting where we could consider that appeal. But please let us know when you occupy that space, and we'd be more than happy to go ahead and get that back on the agenda for deliberation. We got that? We're good?
That makes sense.
Okay, fair enough. I can understand the reason to want to go ahead and get it out there to speak your piece, but I do think that serves your best interest in waiting. And so just let us know. Miss Leanne Allison and the mayor's office can let us know, and we'll be ready to deliberate at that time.
I have a question. Do we need to establish now a deadline, a length of time? I guess the appeal itself, they had X number of days for stuff to happen. I didn't know if we needed to establish an exact timeline, deadline or not, or just leave it open-ended.
The ordinance itself says that you have to hold a hearing within 15 days after getting their notice of appeal, which you have done that. You have also given them the opportunity to speak. And so I think at this point, it would be, fine from a legal basis to continue it.
And we do not necessarily have to give a date on that. We just go ahead when we're approving the agenda. Do we just motion to continue that to a later date?
That's fine.
Okay. We good on that? Okay. Understand everything? Yes, sir. Okay. Outstanding. Thank you for your time. All right. At this time, I would take any, since there are no other comments, I'll take a motion to go ahead.
I make a motion, we leave public hearing and return to regular council meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Outstanding. All right. So at this time, we will enter into deliberation on agenda items only. Item number 1 is listed on the consent agenda. It would be Resolution 2022 R116 declares that certain property is not needed for public or municipal purposes and directs disposal of such property through online auction at gov.deals. Any questions on this, Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
No question.
Councilman Sims?
None.
None for myself. We agree to keep this on consent?
Yes.
Yes.
Outstanding. Item number 2 on the consent agenda, resolve that resolution 2022 R117 fixes cost of demolition and removal of the structure located at 2580 Edwards Street, Irondale, Alabama, in the amount of $34,601.31. Councilwoman Cuellar, any questions on that?
Only question is to Building Inspector Doss, is that demolition taking place? Is he here?
I think that's already happened.
Okay, thank you. No other questions.
Outstanding. I believe already occurred and paid for. We're just fixing the cost for public record at this time.
Great, thank you.
Councilman Box?
No questions.
Councilman Sims?
No questions.
And myself, no questions. I will point out the cost was slightly elevated due to some asbestos removal. We can agree to keep this on consent?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Item number 3, resolve that resolution 2022 R118 authorizes Mayor James D. Stewart Jr. or his designee to execute an agreement and any documents related thereto with Jefferson County, Alabama for a community storm shelter to be located at 5309 Beacon Drive, Irondale, Alabama 35210. Councilwoman Cuellar, any questions?
No questions.
All right, Councilman Box?
No questions.
Councilman Sims?
I just had one question for the mayor. How large is this supposed to be?
10 by 60,
And it should fit how many?
120 people.
Thank you.
And myself, no questions. Thank you. Very good question. We can agree to keep this on consent?
Yes.
All right. All right. We have discussed regular agenda item number 1. We've agreed to continue that to a later date. So we'll just have, when we introduce the agenda, that'll just need to be a modification at that time. All right. Item number 2. Item number 2, resolve that resolution 2022 R120 approves a compensation increase of 9% for classified and unclassified employees and a compensation increase of 5% for retirees. Councilwoman Cuellar, any questions there?
All I want to do is make comments to our employees. First of all, thank you for your hard work. You are an asset to our city, and I want you to know that this economy, the current state that it's in, is really tough on everybody, including you and your families. You know, your gas has increased, food, everything. All that you need to raise your family is skyrocketing, and I want you to know that I feel it and feel for you as well, and I totally support this increase, and I'm speaking personally here. Thank you for all the work that you're doing, and I want to encourage you to continue to do what you do and know that you have my support.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Box?
No questions on this. I just hope this hopefully incentivizes more of you guys to stay with you and make Irondale your home.
Indeed. Councilman Sims?
No questions.
Okay. And myself, just comments. Thank you for all you do. I know that a lot of times shifts don't always end on time, and sometimes we have to stay late. So just appreciate the fine work you guys do. I know recently I had to have one Irondale officer come out to my house, and I appreciated the professionalism that I'm sure exudes through the entire department. Thankfully, Chief McDaniel, I have not managed to burn my house down yet, so I have not had any direct interactions with the fire department, but I hear fantastic things. So thank you for that. One thing that I was remiss, legal and mayor, on this. I know we covered a few of the other items. Could we consider this for consent?
Yes, it will be fully funded in October of 2023, and they would receive the pay period that everything would start in would be October the 5th.
Okay, understood. Body, would we be interested in moving this to the consent agenda?
Yes.
Well played.
Nods in the affirmative. All right, fair enough. So we will go ahead and move that item number 2 to the consent agenda. Item number 3 under new business, resolve that resolution 2022 R121 approves a compensation increase of 14% for municipal public safety employees. Councilwoman Cuellar, any questions or comments?
Same comments that I made to our city employees, to our first responders. Thank you so much for the hard work that you do.
Councilman Box?
Ditto.
All right. Councilman Sims?
Second, and no questions.
All right, same thing here, guys. And then I imagine that still stands for item number 3, legal, as far as the ability to potentially put that on consent? All right. Nods in the affirmative. We're good on consent on that? Okay, outstanding. Item number 3 would be on consent agenda. All right. Item number 4, resolve the resolution 2022 R122 authorizes Mayor James D. Stewart Jr. or his designee to execute an agreement with Gonzalez Strength and Associates Incorporated for land planning services and any other documents related thereto in the amount of $39,500. Questions? Any questions, Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
No question.
Councilman Sims?
None.
And myself, none. We do have approval to move this to consent if you guys feel so inclined. We good on that?
Yes.
Nods? All right, perfect. All right, item number 5, resolve the resolution 2022 R123 authorizes Mayor James D. Stewart Jr. or his designee to enter into an agreement with Johnson Control Security Solutions, LLC for a security system and monitoring services at 3521 Ratliff Road, Irondale, Alabama, 35210 in the amount of $1,997.58 per year. We have approval to move this on consent if we desire, but Councilwoman Cuellar, any questions?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
No questions.
Councilman Sims?
No questions.
We're all good on consent on this item as well? All right, nods in the affirmative. Item number 6, resolve that resolution 2022 R124 authorizes Mayor James D. Stewart Jr. or his designee to enter into an agreement with Norel Heating and Air Conditioning for a duct seal and cleaning on all 3 of the existing duct systems at 5308 Beacon Drive, Irondale, Alabama, 35210 in the amount of $5,750 even. We have approval to move this on consent, but questions or comments, Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
No questions.
Councilman Sims?
None.
Myself, none. Agree to move this to consent? Everybody says yes. Outstanding. Item number 7, resolve the resolution 2022 R125 authorizes Mayor James D. Stewart Jr. or his designee to enter into an agreement with Norel Heating and Air Conditioning for the installation of 3 split systems and other items at 5308 Beacon Drive, Alabama, Irondale, Alabama, 35210 in the amount of $16,744 even. We have approval to move this to consent, but any questions or comments, Councilwoman Cuellar?
No questions. Just a comment for the benefit of our audience. We're talking about fire station number 1, where we're needing this work done.
Thank you for that clarification. Councilman Box?
No questions.
Councilman Sims?
No questions.
And myself, no questions. Do we agree to add this to consent?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Item number 8, resolve that resolution 2022-R126 amends the city's fiscal year 2021-22 general fund budget as set forth in Exhibit A to the resolution. We have approval to move this to consent. Councilwoman Cuellar, any questions or comments?
Yeah, the only comments is that I met with Mayor Stewart, spoke with him earlier this afternoon. This has to do with adjustments to our budget for fiscal year 2022. And we make these things at mid-year. We take a look at it to make sure that we're within the variances, which is a 10% variance. And so I spoke with the mayor earlier about the need to make some adjustments that were not shown on the original one, and the mayor agreed, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Councilors, you all have copies of these amendments. The mayor is good with it. I'm good with it, and I hope that you are too.
Understood. And just for clarification, we're not talking about the bottom line. We're just talking
The
about
line items.
the
which-
line
Which
items.
will impact the bottom line. We're
Right.
gonna make those adjustments.
Understood.
Council President.
Yes, sir.
The bottom line did change. Initially, out of the original budget, we would have a surplus of 5 million. With making the adjustments with the current amount of the budget, however, Councilwoman Cuellar did make some adjustments after I had made all the other adjustments to all of the funds that we have, which we have about 7 funds to be able to do that. So it may change a little bit, but the changes that I made would still have the city with a $4.6 million surplus, or 4.7, I think, $million surplus. And we currently have, no, it's 4.6 the other way. That's what the current amount is, 4.6. But if you look at for the first 3 quarters of the year, we have a surplus of over $4.7 million. So we did pretty well in being able to project what our revenue and expenses would be for this upcoming year. That's why we were in a position to be able to reward the most important assets that we have here at the city. And that's our employees, to be able to provide for them just like we purchase any other equipment for the city. I feel like they're just important as getting a fire truck, dump truck, or police cars. The chiefs may not think that at the present time, but so that's what we did with the budget there. I thank Councilwoman Cuellar for also making some adjustments as well.
Thank you for your diligence and teamwork and collaboration on that. We appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Councilman Box, any questions on that?
No questions. It's been well covered.
Copy. Councilman Sims?
Is, I guess, this amended one now Exhibit A?
That would be Exhibit A.
Yeah.
No questions.
Exactly. All right. We've been given approval to add that to consent. Were we in agreement to add item number 8 under new business to consent?
Sure.
Yes.
All right. Nods in the affirmative. Outstanding. All right. Item number 9 under new business, ordain that ordinance 2022-14 amends chapter 5, which is business regulations, article 8, occupational license fees, section 5-242, to decrease the city's occupational license fee from 1% to 0.75. Councilwoman Cuellar, any questions on this item?
I have no questions. I just make a comment that I will be abstaining from this vote because I would stand to gain personally from it, and I will be abstaining as a result. I work in Irondale, live in Irondale, would benefit, and from an ethical standpoint, I'm not comfortable voting for this or against it.
Understood. We can take your abstention. Councilman Box?
No, just to comment that I want to thank the mayor for his patience and the business community and employees in the city for their patience as we're working through this. Once again, it's always wise to ensure your revenues are solid before you decrease revenues.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Sims?
No questions.
Okay. And my comment on this is I know we've been getting a lot of emails about this, particular from several people that have been very present in their comments about this. So to those that have been reaching out to us about those, we do hope this is a step of goodwill towards reducing this. So thank you for your patience as we've had an opportunity to deliberate this. Mayor, absolutely, I wanted to defer to you
I
on
just
that.
wanted to make sure that I clear up any confusion about the cost of living adjustments for everyone. The cost of living adjustments began October 5th, 2022. Okay, you all are good with that? 2022, not 2023, but they began 2022. The reduction in the occupational license fee begins October 1st, 2022. So you will receive an increase with whatever those increases were, depending on where you are. And you will also have 1/4 or 0.25 less taken out of your check as well. Everything begins October 2022. You all got it? All right. So don't email me in the morning to ask me if anybody emails me about they didn't get the information right, we're going to penalize you and hold your check up for the first 2 weeks.
I love it. Okay, and that is an ordinance, so we will need to take that through the ordinance process. So if someone could be on the ready line for that.
Councilman Lund, may I speak with legal in regard to this since it is an ordinance?
Legal, I know previously some of the feedback that I've perceived is an abstention would be the best course of action if you were specifically rewarded, but if you happen to be in a workforce that mutually benefits and you're not specifically benefited, it would be okay to not abstain. That's the picture that's been painted for me in the past. Would you agree? Okay.
In that class.
So legal, would it be okay to go ahead, go to the roll call and vote in favor, but then when we get to this third step, just simply abstain? Would that be acceptable? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for that
But she was
collaboration.
also saying, I mean,
You can vote.
everybody up there benefits from it.
We do.
because it
We're all
will-
city employees,
Yes,
basically.
because you're a city employee,
Right.
and your salary for the city is also subject to occupational
Occupational
license
tax.
fee. If that's the case, nobody could vote
No,
because
I
all of you all
understand.
benefit
Mine
from
would be
it.
double.
Because of her her full-time employee is inside the city limits.
I just wanted to give
Yeah.
clarity to that.
No, I
point
appreciate that. Sure,
we all-
absolutely.
All are going to benefit
Thank you,
from it.
legal.
Thank you for that. So we have our process. We understand our process. Okay, outstanding. All right. Item number 10. So item number 9 will stay on the regular agenda because of the nature of it. All right. Item number 10. Resolve that Resolution 2022 R127 authorizes Mayor James D. Stewart to execute a second amendment to ground lease agreement with Affinity Hospital LLC to extend the time period for landlord and tenant to close upon the purchase of the leased premises and the retained land. Councilman McQuayor, any questions on this?
No questions.
Councilman Box?
No questions.
Councilman Sims?
No questions.
Myself, no questions. One moment. Legal, I was remiss on asking if we could add this to the consent agenda. Okay. Thoughts about adding this to the consent agenda?
Definitely.
Okay. Everybody's good? All right. Outstanding. All right. So that finishes the deliberation on our agenda items. I know I've made a lot of notes. I'm sure you guys probably have too. All right. So that being said, I would look for the approval of the form of agenda with the amendments we have made thus far.
Make a motion that we approve the form of the agenda with the amendments that have been made so far to include continuance of, well, I lost the page on it. Which one is it we continued?
I think
Number
you're
one.
referring to new business
Under
item number
business,
1.
yeah. So item 1, 2, and 3 on consent. Under new business, item 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10 be placed under consent, and item number 1 be continued.
Fair enough. We have an agenda on the floor. Do we have a second on the agenda on the floor? We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And then at this time, I would take any public comments on agenda items only. So the items that we have deliberated, we would accept public comments on those. Yes, sir. Once again, please speak into the mic at the podium. Name and address, please, sir.
Larry J. West at 5817 Jones Valley Drive, Huntsville, Alabama. My brother owns the property that was resolution 2022 R-17. And I guess I have two questions or requests, I guess. So seems like the driving cost on this was the fact that there had to be asbestos abatement. I was wondering if I could get a copy of the test results for the asbestos.
And what's your second question?
Second question is, so there was a public hearing about who awarding to the low bidder the job of destroying the house, and that's the announcement's online, but I couldn't find the minutes online that said what the winner was. If that's going to be put online, I'll just wait. But if it's not, I would like to have a copy of that.
Got you. Is Mr. Doss available to speak on either one of those two questions? Yes, sir.
There was no bidders for the advertisement, and according to state law, I asked for quotes, and we got quotes and awarded to the lowest bidder. So it sounds like there was a bidder. There was no bids for the bid process. Okay. So then what was the city's next step then? To get quotes. Quotes. If I could see that quote that won, I would appreciate it. Yes, sir. And then the other is the asbestos test. Yes, sir. All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time. Any other comments on agenda items only? No questions on agenda items only at this time. At this point, I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. All items that were placed on the consent agenda have successfully passed. All right, on one and only item for our regular agenda, if someone could go ahead and introduce item number 9 on our regular agenda.
I make a motion that ordinance 2022-14 be considered read.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Make a motion that we suspend all rules that would prevent the immediate consideration of ordinance 2022-14.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call. Councilwoman Cuellar.
Yes.
Councilman Box.
Yes.
Councilman Sims.
Yes.
And myself, yes. And finally, sir.
Make a motion that ordinance 2022-14 be approved and adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Understood. Thank you. Motion passes. All right. That concludes our agenda for the evening. At this. Well then, that timing was perfect, wasn't it? Take care, guys. Thank y'all. All right. We'll let the room clear for a moment, and then we will begin to take, we'll go ahead and take comments on non-agenda items. So these would be items that were not deliberated, just in general comments to the council. Any comments on, yes, sir. I know you have no problem speaking loudly, but name and address for the record, sir.
Okay, my name is Gregory Townsend. I stay at 1500 Dorchester Way in Irondale, Alabama.
Council President, could we wait till the hall clears? So
Fair enough.
Townsend can be here?
If y'all could please clear the room. If you're not staying for the remainder of the meeting, please clear the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Box. Thank you, Councilman Box. Yes, sir, Mr. Townsend.
Okay,
apologize.
my name is Gregory Townsend. I stay at 1500 Dorchester Way, Irondale, Alabama 35210. We've lived as this residence for almost 20 years and have enjoyed Irondale as a city for my family to live, grow, worship, and play. I have really witnessed and enjoyed the last year or two of Irondale's growth and development. I've been saddened by a few things that I've heard from members of the council in terms of rudeness displayed against other groups of people. And there was a petition that went out, and over 300 people voiced the same opinion about this counselor. And I would suggest, just make a suggestion, that we watch what we say, because our children are listening, our families are listening, and if we're going to serve our community, we need to serve our entire community without rudeness, without comments that may be harmful, because words do hurt people in our community. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments to the council on non-agenda items? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Lindy Lewis, 5240 Cornell Drive, Irondale 35210. I am a lifelong citizen of Irondale. I grew up in Irondale, and over 10 years ago, I bought the house I grew up in. I love Irondale, and I'm proud to be a citizen of Irondale, and I hope to continue to feel this way. As we all know, discrimination, bigotry, and hate have no place in this fine city. Just as discrimination against people of color, women, gay and lesbian people is wrong, comes from a place of bigotry and hate, discrimination against transgender people is also wrong and comes from that same place of bigotry and hate. On July 5th, Councillor Cuellar called for discrimination against transgender people and blocked an agreement between Birmingham and Irondale for the Irondale Police to help Birmingham Police during the World Games. Not only was this an attempt to demean a group of already marginalized people, it puts Irondale in a position to be labeled as a city of hate. Her proposal would have also put the city in violation of federal law. Because of Councillor Cuellar's decision to voice her bigotry and attempt to impose discrimination on transgender people, I call for the mayor and the city council to act and formally censor the councillor. Thank you.
Any other comments on non-agenda items?
Hi, Chelsea Wells, 552 Bonneville Lane, Irondale, 35210. I've only lived in this city for about 6 or 7 years. I bought my first house here. I was really happy to move here. I want to piggyback off of the last speaker and say that I too was really disappointed to hear those comments from our counselor. It is really upsetting to see that bigotry is alive and well in our city. You do not represent me or my family. You do not deserve to speak on behalf of our community because of the bigotry and hatred that you have spewed. The whole world has seen it. It is disappointing. I hope the rest of the city council and our local government can see how debilitating that can be for a city, much less our state. I'm disappointed, and I hope that change happens here.
Any other comments to the council on non-agenda items? We have no additional. Are you standing up, sir, to make a comment? Okay.
Scott Lewis, 5189 Cornell Drive. I am Lindy's brother. I agree with the gentleman over there. Councilwoman Cuellar's comments were wholly uncalled for. There is not, I don't think there's very many people in Irondale who care what the personal opinions that anybody has in their own home. If you want to sit there and grumble, sit there and grumble. But to try to make our city, the entire city, bow down to your preferences, I don't know if you understand how much that affects certain citizens who you have never met, who I will make good and sure you will never meet. But it affects them tremendously. As a dad of citizens like that, it affects me tremendously. I don't know what the city council can do. I don't know what the mayor, what legal can do. I don't know. But something has to be done to stand up and say, no, we're not going to do this. That's not who we are. That's not who we want to be. You can be that. That's fine. That's not my place to judge you as a person. But as a representative of the city, in which the entire world, not just our surrounding area, not just the state, but the entire world looked down and saw your comments. I don't know if I should feel ashamed or if I should feel proud that people stood up and said no, but something's got to be done. Mainly, I want to put this on record. Something needs to be done.
Thank you for your comments.
I'm not much for public speaking, but I'm Kay Mickle and I live at 313 Grants Mill Drive. I am unsure if censure is possible, but I would at least like to piggyback off of all of those who have spoken and those who have very strong thoughts that have been expressed, that we at least need a public apology that hopefully will go out over Irondale, Birmingham, Jefferson County, the state of Alabama, and possibly at least the United States, because we were embarrassed. I was asked at some of the games, because I attended, by a person from Finland and a person from Sweden, where do you live in the area? When I told them I lived in Birmingham. We've read, and they went on. Finland, Sweden, where my family is from, where I have cousins, saw it. Very embarrassing to me personally. I am aware that we have people who are right here with us who have family members who are very dear to them, who have alternative lifestyles. And I just feel like that night, it was almost like a slap in the face to them as I saw them continue to be strong during the conversation that was held. Thank you, and at least a public apology, if not censure, is due.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments on non-agenda items?
Good evening. My name is Frida Williams. I live 5178 Cornell Drive. And I was in Indiana when I kind of looked at the Google and I saw her comment. And I was so angry with what she said. She had no right to use her opinion for all of Irondale. I've lived here since 1995. I've raised my foster children. I have a daycare. I've raised my other children and my grandchildren. And I love Irondale. I love the police, I love the fire department, and I love the mayor. And me, myself, I'm not gonna stand for any negative talk like that, because it's not your business what other people do with their lives. Like it's not your business to know what I do with my life. And with that, y'all have a good evening.
Tracy Lewis, 5240 Cornell Drive, Irondale. I moved here and I was 1 year old in 1975, so lifelong. I'm incredibly upset about what you said, but I've become even more upset of the complete lack of contrition that it feels like. It was literally went out to the world and we heard nothing from you. So everybody has said the same things I feel. So I'll make it short and say that's almost as disappointing as the original comments. And also, these marginalized people have to deal with this from their federal government. And when it's local, it just feels more personal. It hurts more. And I just wanted you to know that.
Hi, my name's Frank Pennington, 1261 McConnell Lane, Mount Olive, Alabama. I'm the Public Works Director for the City of Irondale. And as a God-fearing Christian, I'm going to stand up here and tell you how ashamed I am of everybody here, period. We want to talk about how we want to be tolerant, how we want to get along, but nobody wants to forgive each other. I've seen nothing but hatred spewed at Miss Quayle. I've seen nothing but
Let
hatred.
this man, let's,
Let me speak. Let me speak.
no one will interrupt the speaker.
You had your time. Everybody's opinion is their opinion, and everybody's entitled to that. But the same hatred that you're saying that she gave everybody else has given back 1,000 times. I've read every article. We're not here to judge people. We're here to do the right things. And you can sit there and shake your head at me all day long. That's fine. I'm just going to speak my mind just like you spoke yours. I love this city. I've worked here with all of you wonderful people here, and know more than you as friends as I know any of you. But I just can't stand here and watch this, where we want to talk about how what she said is so bad. When go look at everything that's written out there. Go look at what you put out there. People, if we don't love each other, we're useless. So if this is what y'all want, if this is this kind of city that you want, so be it. Enjoy it. But that's not the way it was intended. It's not the way God intended it to be. He said, forgive and forget. He said, in the first one that's sinless, cast the first stone. There won't nobody be throwing any stones in this room. And I'm sorry I had to come and say that. And if I'm no longer employed with the city, I understand. But that's my beliefs. I had to say it. I'm sorry, Mayor.
Any other comments on non-agenda items at this time? With no more comments on non-agenda items, I'd accept a motion to enter into executive session for the reason to discuss consideration the city council is willing to offer when considering the purchase, sale, exchange, lease, or market value of real property by the city. Need a motion to enter?
Motion to enter an executive session.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. As a reminder, we will not be returning to this room to end this meeting. We'll end our executive session and our council meeting in another room.